What if one of the biggest mistakes people make when moving to Raleigh is assuming it's exactly like every other fast-growing city they see online? A lot of people move here expecting one thing and end up getting something completely different. Raleigh is still one of the best places to live in 2026, but there are definitely some surprises that can catch people off guard after they arrive. Today, we're talking about why some people regret moving to Raleigh and some of the things nobody tells you, and whether those regrets are actually deal breakers or just part of adjusting to life in the Triangle. Our family and I moved here 8 years ago from Southern California, sight unseen. So we have lived through a lot of these surprises ourselves and helped countless clients avoid the same mistakes from our experiences. Stick around to the end because one of the biggest reasons people regret moving here is probably not what you think. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe because we talk about Raleigh, the Triangle, and all the surrounding suburbs every single week with new videos. Now, one of the biggest shocks for people moving here is that Raleigh is not nearly as affordable as they expected. A lot of people come here or they get on a Zoom with us and they're thinking they're gonna find huge houses, giant yards, low prices compared to where they're moving from. And while it's still more affordable than places like where we came from, Southern California, New York, or South Florida, Raleigh is definitely not the hidden bargain it used to be, but there are still some hidden gems if you have the right person looking for you. A lot of online home price numbers can be misleading because they often include condos, townhomes, or construction prices without adding in sometimes the design studio or amenities in outer suburbs that are farther from the city. Once people start looking at single family homes in some of the more desirable areas, that's usually when, boom, reality hits. Cary, Apex, North Raleigh, and parts of Wake Forest can get pretty expensive quickly. And in a lot of cases, if you want a newer home with more space and a good commute, you are probably looking closer to the mid 5s or 6s in these areas. That's why a lot of people who relocate find themselves looking at areas they never originally considered. Instead of the places everybody talks about, they start discovering areas like Roseville, which was right around the corner from us, Wendell, Zebulon, Garner, Clayton, Anger, Middlesex, and start moving east to Johnston County. Those places may be farther out, but they often give buyers more house, newer construction, and a different kind of lifestyle. And honestly, this is where some people actually end up a lot happier. Because while they may not be 5 minutes from downtown Raleigh, they get more space, lower taxes in some areas, newer neighborhoods, and a quieter pace of life, which we wanted. The great news is most areas I talked about are still only about 20 to 30 minutes from downtown Raleigh. Another thing that surprises a lot of people is that Raleigh is not a huge entertainment city in the way some people expect. If you're moving from a place like Nashville, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, Raleigh's definitely gonna feel quieter. There's not a huge nightclub scene or no big casinos. There's not a major theme park around the corner. And even though Asteria Community, which is Disney, is coming very soon, and we're talking a lot about it, there's definitely not multiple professional sports teams. What Raleigh does have is more of a laid-back lifestyle. This area is more about local restaurants, breweries, parks, festivals, youth sports, greenways, outdoor concerts, farmers markets, and weekends at the lake. Here, it's more about family. Now you'll definitely have more time enjoying patio dinners in places like, which is nice, downtown Cary at Sap Restaurant, or get the best pizza pie in North Carolina at DeFara's, which is awesome. You can also go across the street once you did that and hang out at downtown Cary Park. There's also a lot of our clients that explore local shops in Wake Forest, grabbing lunch in Wendell Falls at Falls Local or Parkside, or spending a day around places like Knightdale Station Park, having the best barbecue in North Carolina at Prime Barbecue, or take a walk at the trails or go around to Falls Lake. That slower pace is one of the reasons people love living here. but it's also one of the reasons some people regret it. If you're expecting constant nightlife, endless entertainment, and a fast-paced city feel, Raleigh may not be the right fit. But if you want something that feels more balanced and less chaotic, it can be exactly what you're looking for. One thing people do not realize until they get here is how spread out the triangle is. Raleigh is definitely not just Raleigh. It's Raleigh, Cary, Apex, Holly Springs, Durham, Chapel Hill, Knightdale, Garner, Wake Forest, Clayton, Fuquay Varina, Wendell Falls, Roseville, and a whole lot more. And all these places have their own personality, their own restaurants, their own shopping, and their own vibe and lifestyle, which we tell our clients is a very important decision to make when you move. Raleigh and the surrounding suburbs have grown, so yep, there's traffic. Now compared to where we came from, LA or New York or Miami, it's a piece of cake. But from 8 years ago when we arrived, it's definitely increased. It's very common here to drive 15 or 20 minutes to dinner, 35 minutes to work, or 40 minutes to meet up with friends in another part of the triangle. The great news, which we weren't used to, is these drives are easy. The challenge is people coming from more urban areas are often surprised by that because they are used to being so close to everything. There's not many walkable places in the triangle outside of a few smaller pockets, and public transportation is definitely limited. You're definitely going to find a lot of people on e-scooters everywhere now, but most people rely on their cars for most everything. So if you're the kind of person who wants to walk to coffee shops, grocery stores, restaurants, and work every day, you really need to be intentional about where you choose to live. It definitely exists here, but it's only in certain suburbs. Now before we get into the big one, schools, there's another thing people don't always expect. Traffic in Raleigh is not terrible compared to bigger cities like LA, New York, and Miami, but it's definitely worse than a lot of people imagine. Roads like the I-40, I-540, Capitol Boulevard, which is also called 401, Glenwood Avenue, US 1, and Highway 55 can definitely get crowded. And because so many people are moving here, it can sometimes feel like the roads, the schools, and the infrastructure are struggling to keep up. And the truth is, there's construction everywhere. New neighborhoods are popping up constantly. Shopping centers, apartment buildings, mixed-use projects, and new road projects are happening all over the place. That growth can definitely be frustrating to some people. They move here wanting a quiet, small town feel, and then they realize the area they bought is changing much faster than they expected. That's where having a professional to guide you to not just a pretty house that's on the internet, but to the right suburb for your vibe and your lifestyle. Also, because it's growing, a place like Wendell, Roseville, or Clayton can look completely different in just a few years. And at the same time, that growth is also what brings awesome new restaurants, which we didn't have 8 to 10 years ago. Also, new schools, new parks, new entertainment, and more job opportunities. So for a lot of people, it's really about finding the balance between getting into a growing area and still finding the lifestyle that fits you best. Definitely grab one of our free buyer and seller relocation guides in the description box. It'll assist you with a lot of these decisions. So like we were talking about, schools are another area that can be a little confusing for newcomers. A lot of people assume they can buy a house and automatically know what school their kids are going to attend. In Wake County and other parts of the triangle, it does not always work that way. You have traditional public schools, charter schools, magnet schools, year-round schools, private schools, cap schools, and overflow schools. Sometimes people buy a house thinking they're assigned to the one school and then realize they have another option or a different assignment, entirely different, and their child is not going to be going to the same school as their friend across the street. That can be super frustrating if you're not prepared for it. But it can also be a huge benefit because there are so many choices. Some families love having access to magnet programs or charter schools that focus on specific learning styles or interests. but it definitely takes more research than people expect. And that's one of the biggest reasons we always tell people not to just pick a neighborhood because it looks pretty online. You really need to think about commute times, schools, lifestyle, amenities, and what you want your day-to-day lifestyle to look like. And speaking of lifestyle, one thing that catches people off guard is that some of the best places to live are not always the ones that get talked about the most. Everybody already knows about Cary, Apex, and North Raleigh, but there are a lot of areas that people overlook that can be great fits depending on what they want. If you want a more relaxed feel with newer homes and growing downtown, places like Wendell Falls and Nightdale are worth looking at. If you want more space and a small town feel but still want to stay connected to Raleigh, you may want to look at Wendell, which is a little outside of Wendell Falls, Clayton, Roseville, and some of the Flowers Plantation area. If you want something with more of a suburban feel but easier access to the city, areas like Garner, Nightdale again, and Wendell Falls, because it's closer to the freeway. And even though these cities were previously mentioned, this can make a lot of sense for people here also. Remember, there's a big difference between Wendell and Wendell Falls, but that's for another video. That's why moving to Raleigh is really not about finding the best place, it's about finding the best place for you. And at the end of the day, most people who move to Raleigh do not regret moving here. And the majority are here for a very long time. Usually, what they regret is not understanding the full picture like we didn't before they made the move. Raleigh now is definitely not the cheapest place in the country anymore. It's also not a huge nightlife city, but it's growing in North Hills, the Warehouse District, and Glenwood South. And only a few of the suburbs are actually walkable. And the growth can definitely be frustrating at times, but it's still one of the most balanced places to live in the country. You have strong job growth, good schools, a lot of outdoor activities that people love, mild winters, access to the mountains and the beach, which we love, and so many different communities to choose from with different vibes and lifestyles. Our family and I moved here from Southern California 8 years ago, sight unseen. So we definitely know how overwhelming it can feel to make a move without knowing all the details. That's why we make these videos. We want to help you avoid the mistakes and regrets that a lot of people make when they move here. If you're thinking about moving to Raleigh or anywhere in the Triangle, call, text, or email us anytime. Our information is right here on the screen, and we would love to help. And don't forget to grab our free buyer and seller relocation guides in the description box to make your move a lot easier. Also, let us know in the comments what would be your biggest concern about moving to Raleigh and what kind of lifestyle are you actually hoping for to find when you get here. And until next time, we'll catch you on the next video.